And it shall come to pass before they cry that I will answer, while they yet speak I will hear them. Isaiah 65 verse 24. Have you ever had the feeling that, in the most difficult moments when the world seems to move away from you, something inside you is awakening, a flame that ignites for no apparent reason? Maybe it's that soft, insistent voice that reminds you of a hidden truth. You are not alone. Even when circumstances suggest loneliness, there is a greater purpose being prepared for you, and this is one of the deepest marks of those who are chosen by God. Those chosen for a deeper spiritual journey often experience the feeling of isolation as a divine invitation. It's not abandonment, it's a calling. A calling that removes you from the external noise, the distractions of the world, so that you can hear God's voice clearly. In silence, God works. In moments of solitude, divine mysteries begin to reveal themselves in ways many never experience. Now I ask, have you ever had moments when everything seemed to fall apart, but a sense of preparedness was present? Moments when, despite the pain, you knew something bigger was at stake? If yes, then you are on the path of the chosen ones. Comment below, what has been your biggest struggle during this period of isolation? Remember that by sharing your experiences, you strengthen others who are also walking this spiritual journey. Your story could be the key that unlocks someone's understanding, the silence that transforms. There is power in silence. He reveals truths that the incessant noise of life tries to cover up. Isolation may seem uncomfortable at first, but it is a tool for profound transformation. During this period, you free yourself from external distractions and begin to refine your spiritual perceptions, understanding what is truly important. Think about times when you found yourself reflecting deeply, perhaps late at night when the world seemed asleep. It was in these moments that the deepest insights emerged, weren't they? In isolation, you are forced to leave the surface and delve into the depths of your soul, where the truest answers dwell. There is wisdom in the depths of your spirit, but it is only revealed when you allow yourself to silence the external noise and listen to what God is saying in the silence. What have you discovered about yourself in these moments of solitude? Comment below. What were the most profound changes that emerged during your periods of isolation? Share and inspire other souls who may be on the verge of a great transformation. Why does God separate His chosen? The separation is not a coincidence and much less a punishment. God acts meticulously, ordering each movement with divine precision. Every departure, every person who leaves your life, every situation that seems to be ripped out of your control, carries a deep purpose, hidden from the eyes of most. Nothing is by chance when it comes to the chosen ones. When God decides to separate you, He is not just isolating you, He is molding you, refining you into something beyond what you can imagine. Have you ever stopped to reflect on what it means to be chosen? To be chosen is to be set apart for something specific, something that few can understand. You were not separated from the world by chance, but for a reason so high that you may not even be able to see it now. And often, this reason only reveals itself after the desert, after the trials, when you are finally ready to bear the weight of what God has planned for you. There is a mystical depth to this separation process. When you are removed from situations or separated from people who once made sense in your life, it doesn't happen for nothing. What many fail to realize is that, in separation, God is clearing the ground around you, making room for something new to be born. Something that requires a purer heart, a more aligned mind, and a soul totally dependent on Him. An ancient calling, a greater purpose. Think about the great biblical examples. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a well, sold into slavery, and unjustly imprisoned. Each of these steps felt like a defeat, a failure. But it was in this fire of trials that God was forging a ruler, someone who would have the wisdom and resilience to lead an entire nation. Can you see the parallel in your life? The situations you go through may seem like momentary defeats, but they are actually stepping stones to something that God is preparing behind the scenes. David spent years on the run before being crowned king, years in which he was separated from the throne that already belonged to him by right. But it was in this phase of escape, of loneliness, that David learned the greatest lessons of leadership, patience, and trust in God. You are also being prepared away from the public eye, away from the expectations of others. This is the time when God is carving your essence for the great role He has in store for you. And then there is Jesus, the greatest example. Before beginning His ministry, Jesus spent 40 days in the desert, completely separated, in prayer and fasting. There was no applause, no crowds, just Him and the Father. This time of solitude was crucial. It was necessary for Him to be tempted and tested before performing miracles and bringing the message of salvation to the world. And you, chosen one, will also be tested. Your time in the desert is not in vain. The secret in separation, a hidden preparation. Do you feel this restlessness within yourself? It's like a flame that doesn't go out, a feeling that something is being prepared, even when everything around you seems chaotic. This spiritual turmoil, this feeling of being on the edge of something great, it is an indication that God is shaping you for a greater purpose. He is polishing areas of your life that you may not even be aware of, removing what can prevent you from reaching the destiny prepared for you. God separates His chosen ones because He knows that the destiny that awaits you requires intense preparation and unshakable faith. And that faith can only be built in moments of loneliness, in challenges that force you to depend on Him in a way you've never needed to before. Separation is evidence that something bigger is on the way. God never removes anything without the intention of replacing it with something infinitely better. Maybe you ask yourself, why me? Why am I going through this? The answer is hidden in the depths of the divine mystery. Because you were chosen for something that goes beyond human understanding. You carry a mission, a spiritual responsibility that cannot be understood in its entirety now, but will be revealed in due time. The greatness God is preparing requires a version of you that is still being refined. Reflection and call. What is God preparing? Now I ask you, what do you believe God has in store for you? What is the feeling that comes over you when everything seems to go wrong, but at the same time, there is an unshakable certainty within your heart that something great is coming? You may not yet be able to name this feeling, but it is there, like a divine whisper. God is moving pieces in the scenario of your life, preparing every detail so that, when the moment comes, you are completely ready to assume your role. Comment below. What do you feel God is preparing you to face or accomplish? By getting your words out, you often see more clearly what He is doing. Perhaps your own reflection is the beginning of a greater revelation. Share your journey and inspire other chosen ones who are also going through their own deserts. Remember, separation is always a prelude to something extraordinary. Every step you take in the desert is taking you to a destination beyond your imagination. You are being refined like gold. Each challenge is a furnace that removes impurities and makes you stronger, wiser, more prepared for what's to come. Stay strong. The preparation may be painful, but the promise is glorious. The mystery behind spiritual processes. There are spiritual secrets that are only revealed to those who have the patience to wait in silence. These secrets are not revealed to everyone, but only to those who are willing to endure the stillness, the silence that the soul faces during spiritual isolation. In a world that values action and speed, where everything seems to happen instantly, the idea of waiting, of silence, of moving away from the noise and hustle and bustle, may seem strange. But the path of the chosen follows a completely different logic. The divine rhythm is different and it operates in perfect time, not in human time. Have you ever noticed how silence can reveal things that would never be noticed in the noise of everyday life? Isolation is an invitation to silence, and it is in this space that the spiritual key reveals itself, that key that opens doors to mysteries that were hidden from ordinary eyes. It's as if, by entering silence, you access a hidden dimension, where answers that the world cannot offer begin to emerge. But this spiritual key cannot be accessed through noise and distractions. The deepest mysteries can only be understood by those who are willing to quiet their souls and wait on God. This process of silence and waiting is, in itself, a mystery. For those on the chosen path, this journey is inevitable. You move away, perhaps without even understanding why, and slowly begin to realize that you are being drawn into a space of revelation. In stillness, hidden things begin to manifest, doubts begin to melt away, and purpose begins to take shape. If you are now experiencing this transition, a time when silence seems louder than any noise around you, know that this is not in vain. This is a natural process for those who have a special calling. God is taking you to a place where you can see what others cannot see, understand what others cannot understand, and this only happens when you disconnect from external voices and connect directly to the Creator. Perhaps at this moment, everything seems confusing. It can be painful, it can feel like an unwanted break or even a setback, but trust that the greatest secrets of your destiny are being revealed, piece by piece, like a spiritual puzzle. Each piece that falls into place is directing you, showing you something you hadn't realized yet. This apparent pause is actually a realignment. God is adjusting the path, preparing you for what is to come. It is interesting to realize that, in silence, the answers we desperately seek often emerge effortlessly. You begin to understand that what seemed like a delay was, in fact, God's time acting in your life. Moments of silence are times of internal construction, of strengthening your soul, of removing distractions and false perceptions. It is in this space of isolation that you are shaped to live what God has prepared for you. When you feel like you're on the verge of a big revelation, it's more than just a feeling. It is your spirit capturing the divine movement. It's as if your soul knows it's about to discover something that will transform your outlook on life and your purpose. Often, this revelation does not come in the form of a direct answer, but as a deep understanding that God is in control of everything, even the parts that seem meaningless. Share in the comments. What part of this process of silence and isolation has been the most challenging for you? What has been most difficult to accept or understand? By sharing your journey, you can help others who are also going through this process and still can't see clearly what is happening in their own lives. Your story could be the point of light someone needs to find peace and understanding. Remember, the path of the chosen is never easy, but it always carries a glorious purpose. The hidden wisdom in isolation. Isolation is often misinterpreted as punishment or abandonment. When the world seems to move away and outside voices become silent, it is common for the first thought to be rejection or punishment. But what many fail to understand, and herein lies one of the greatest spiritual mysteries, is that isolation carries a deep wisdom, a hidden wisdom that can only be accessed by the chosen. Those who have been set apart by God, called to something greater, are the only ones who can truly understand the spiritual meaning behind this apparent loneliness. Apparent loneliness is not a punishment, but rather an invitation, an opportunity to see beyond the surface. In the moments when you find yourself separated from the distractions of the world, God is calling you to something deeper, to a more intimate relationship with Him and to a greater understanding of His purpose. But to access this hidden wisdom, you need to quiet your heart and open your spiritual ears, because the most powerful revelations come in silence, far from turmoil and confusion. There is a mystical key that God places before His chosen ones during isolation. This key opens doors that remain locked for those immersed in the noise and distractions of everyday life. Only in the silence, in the stillness of isolation, can you take this key and use it to access the mysteries that God has prepared. Have you ever wondered why, in the darkest moments, it seems like the answers come more clearly? This happens because it is in these moments that you are on a higher spiritual frequency, more in tune with the voice of God. The revelation of spiritual displacement. If you look back, you will realize that the moments when you felt out of place, away from people or situations that previously made sense, they were the moments when God was preparing you for a new level of understanding. This shift is not an error or a coincidence. It is part of the divine process of molding you into something greater. God cannot take you to new spiritual heights if you are stuck in old environments or relationships that limit you. Displacement is actually redirection. The feeling of being out of place is actually an indication that God is removing the ties that tied you to the old, the known, the comfortable. He is preparing you for a new scenario, a new level of spiritual revelation and understanding. The discomfort you feel is not abandonment, but the necessary push for you to move towards what was reserved exclusively for you. What once seemed like a no from God now begins to reveal itself as a yes, to something much bigger than you could ever imagine. Treasures hidden in dark places. Sometimes the darkest and loneliest places are the ones that reveal the greatest spiritual treasures. It may seem contradictory, but it is in darkness that God's light shines most brightly. When all external lights go out, that is when the true light, the divine light, begins to manifest within you. In moments when everything around you seems to fall apart, when there is nowhere to run, You are forced to confront your essence, your true motivations and the purpose for which you were created. Isolation is a kind of spiritual mirror. It forces you to look inside at the parts of yourself that, perhaps, you have avoided facing. In this process, God is revealing to you who you really are, the areas that need to be transformed and the gifts that were dormant, waiting for the right moment to emerge. It is in silence that you begin to discover spiritual talents that were previously hidden. When all distractions are removed, what was buried inside you begins to blossom. Often the greatest revelations of your life come when everything around you seems silent. What have you learned during this period of isolation? What truths emerged in the silence that would never have appeared in the noise? It is in these moments that you realize that isolation was not a waste of time, but a divine opportunity to grow and advance in your calling. Isolation as a phase of spiritual refinement. Another little talked about aspect of isolation is the spiritual refinement that happens during this period. Just as gold is purified in fire, you are also being refined in silence. The impurities, fears and doubts are being burned away, and what is left is a stronger, purer and more ready version of yourself, capable of bearing the weight of the purpose God has placed upon your life. What once seemed like an unbearable ordeal now turns out to be essential preparation. God uses isolation to prepare spiritual warriors. In the desert, in solitude, He teaches you to trust Him more, to depend completely on Him. When you have no one else to turn to, the only direction to look is up, to the one who never abandons you. It is in this place of total dependence that the greatest miracles happen. You are being trained for something much greater, and isolation is the spiritual training ground where your faith is strengthened. The confrontation with the divine essence. Isolation pushes you into a confrontation not only with your own essence, but also with the divine essence. In this deep silence, God reveals parts of Himself that you would never know otherwise. The nuances of His character, the mysteries of His will, and the secrets of His heart become visible. It's as if God pulls you into a space where only the chosen can enter, where the revelations are too profound to be explained in words, but so real that they completely transform the way you see the world. You are being invited into this secret space with God. What seemed like a turning away from everything you knew is actually a calling to draw closer to Him in a way few experience. You are being led to the spiritual sanctuary where God's secrets are revealed only to those who persevere in silence and solitude. Share your journey. Now I ask you, what have you learned during this period of isolation? What revelations came to you when everything around you seemed silent? What spiritual treasures have you found in your darkest moments? Your experience can be the support that other chosen ones need to remain firm on their path. By sharing your journey, you not only strengthen your own faith, but you also light the way for those who are struggling to find meaning in their own isolation. Comment below and help others see that although the path of the chosen is challenging, it always leads to a deeper revelation, a greater purpose, and an intimacy with God that few have the privilege of experiencing. The marks of the chosen. Being chosen is a spiritual distinction that goes beyond human understanding. It's carrying a sacred flame within yourself, a fire that burns stronger than that of the people around you. This fire, this light that shines within you, is what sets you apart from others and makes you walk a path that few have the courage to walk. You have been marked by God's touch. And this mark is not visible to natural eyes, but it manifests itself in the depths of your being, in your essence, in your choices, and in the way you face the challenges that life puts in front of you. This flame within you is not a burden, but a sign of purpose. It is the divine fire that guides your steps, that separates you from the world and places you in a process of constant transformation. What many don't understand is that being separated by God is not a punishment or something to fear. It is, in fact, one of the greatest privileges anyone can receive. Being separate means being prepared, honed and refined for a purpose that transcends the ordinary. But herein lies the mystery and depth of this journey. Being chosen often means being misunderstood. The people around you may not understand your decisions, they may not see what is happening inside you. That's because God is working on levels and dimensions that are beyond the reach of ordinary human perception. You are being shaped directly by the hands of the Creator, and this process often sets you apart, takes you away from what is common, moves you to a place where only you and God can see the purpose. The weight and honor of being shaped by God. Transition is always a challenging time. It is the moment when your strength is tested, when your faith is put to the test. But it is also the time when the greatest spiritual revelations happen. You begin to see more clearly what was previously hidden. God's promises begin to become more visible, and the light at the end of the tunnel, which previously seemed distant, begins to shine more brightly. Have you ever felt like you were in transition but couldn't quite pinpoint where you were going? This is part of the divine mystery. God doesn't always reveal all the details at once, because part of spiritual growth comes from trusting Him completely, even when we can't see the full path. It is in this confidence that you find the strength to continue. Internal transformation. What is being changed in you? As you walk through this process, something within you is being profoundly transformed. God is adjusting your vision, your heart, and even your most secret motivations. What was once acceptable to you now begins to become insufficient. You feel a greater desire, a deeper hunger for something that can only be satisfied by God. This hunger is a sign that Spirit is moving you to a higher level. This internal transformation is silent but powerful. What is God transforming in you right now? What area of your life is being refined so intensely that you barely recognize who you were before? These changes, although difficult, are proof that God is active in your life, shaping every part of who you are so that you are ready for what He has in store. Comment below. What do you most feel is being transformed in you during this time? Your words can be a point of strength for other chosen ones who are seeking answers, who are also going through the fire of refinement, but do not yet fully understand what is happening. Your experience can be the beacon that lights the path of another chosen one. The purpose behind separation, preparing for the extraordinary. Everything you're facing right now, every fight, every tear, every moment of doubt, it is part of a larger process which is preparing you for something extraordinary. None of this is in vain. God never wastes a pain, a struggle, or a challenge. Each situation is working together to prepare you for the glorious destiny He has designed for you. You are being prepared for something that others cannot see. God is moving pieces in the landscape of your life that you don't yet fully understand, but which will reveal themselves in due time. Everything is working together for your good, even when it seems like nothing makes sense. Isolation is a spiritual training ground, and when you leave that place, you will be stronger, wiser, and more prepared for what is to come. What God has for you is so great that it requires this intense preparation, this careful refinement. You are being shaped into something extraordinary. Remember, the chosen are prepared to carry the glory of God in a powerful way. And you, chosen one, are in the middle of this divine process. Trust the path, trust the fire, and above all, trust the purpose. The preparation conundrum. Few understand the spiritual enigma behind the trials. The greater the calling, the more intense the preparation. God never puts us in difficult situations without a purpose. He is preparing you, molding you, refining you for something that will require a stronger, wiser, and more spiritually connected version of you. Do you feel like you are in a moment of preparation? Maybe things around you seem confusing right now, but inside you there is a feeling that something is about to change. Your spirit already knows that something big is being prepared. You just need to trust the process. Comment below. What do you believe God is preparing you to face or accomplish? By sharing your vision, you can help other chosen ones see more clearly what God is also doing in their lives. The future of the chosen. Chosen one, isolation is an essential part of your spiritual journey. You are being refined, prepared, and shaped for a purpose that goes far beyond what you can now imagine. And although this process can often feel lonely, remember that you are never truly alone. God is with you at every step, guiding, protecting, and revealing His plans at the right time. If this message spoke to your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share with that special person who you know is also going through a period of isolation. Together, we can strengthen each other on this spiritual journey. Comment below. What has been the most challenging moment of your journey so far? Your words may be exactly what another chosen one needs to read today. Let's walk together.